The former great Bengal wide receiver number 85, Tim McGee. Tim, first of all, our thoughts are with you. I know that you're concerned right now, and your thoughts are elsewhere with a family member who's not doing well. So we're thinking about you, praying for you, and hope everything's okay. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Actually, she's doing better. She's hanging in there. So, we have a lot to be blessed about, and I appreciate your kindness and your thoughts and your prayers. But we're doing okay.
Okay. All right. Let's start with. I'm really going to miss you. I can't believe you're not going to be on the radio because you're out of town tomorrow. Because I love listening to you and Chip break it down after the game is over. But let's talk about this game. You know, Tim, I went through some interesting. I'm not a big stat guy most of the time, but to me there are some stats that jump off the page in this game. And the one I talked about a little while ago is, you can talk about this and you can talk about that with Lou Anarumo and his defense and so on and so forth, but you know better than anybody. There was a time not too long ago before the rules changed where tackling, the art of tackling was stressed over and over and over, and hitting in practice and tackling in practice and all those kinds of things. So now the rules changed the last number of years for player safety. We understand that. But one area the Bengals have been the best in the NFL this year is tackling people. And it was interesting to see that Kansas City this year, and you don't think of them as being a big play, lots of explosive plays. They don't have the wide receivers that the Bengals have. They got Kelsey, but they have the most yards after catch of any team in the NFL this year. Conversely, the Bengals have done the best job of tackling once a guy does catch the ball or run the ball this year. I got to believe that's something we overlook a lot. You agree with that or no?
Oh, absolutely. Because first of all, something's going to have to give. We know that going into this game, and the advantage is always to the offense. Because if the offense has an above average game and they break tackles, that can lead to points, and obviously points are the most essential thing in the game in scoring. So yeah, I mean the art of tackling is probably defined more so nowadays, where just hit, where before it was see what you hit, run through them. The aggressiveness was there, and nowadays, I think it's just absolutely wonderful what the Bengals have done, considering it's not an art they practice anymore. You can't hit per the NFL Players Association rules. You cannot hit during practice like during our days. We practice hitting. Now, of course, I didn't. I practiced avoiding hitting, getting hit, but the guys that got paid, the real dumb guys that got paid to hit people, which I never understood, they practice their art. And nowadays, that's not something you can really do. It's just more of the mechanics. And, Coach Lou is more focused on, putting guys in the right position and hoping they make the plays. And that's what they've been doing.
When you look at, and everybody has their own things that they think will be the key to the game, keys to the game, plural. For Tim McGee, what are the keys to this game?
I think the run game for both teams. We look at the star-studded quarterback positions in Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, and that's something we fully expect the forward or pass to be a integral part of the teams and whoever has the most success. But I think the run game and the run defense for both teams, that's going to pretty much dictate, to me, field position. That's going to dictate keeping the other star quarterback off the field. And when you look at the Buffalo game, that's I'm talking about an absolute perfect example of, you saw Josh Allen in the first quarter pretty much spending 80% of his time on the sideline. And what that means is quarterbacks and offenses and offensive line, they don't get rhythm. And where consequently you look at the other side, the Bengals they got into rhythm early, often, and they were able to dominate. And when I say dominate, people think dominate like the score was 40-3. No, dominate is in the time of possession, dominating the line of scrimmage, dominating the opponent by not letting them get into their rhythm. And I think the running game was a key last week and that will be a key to either team, whether it's Kansas City or the Bengals. I think that's going to be the key for the team that's going to be successful.
Do we still have reason to be concerned about the offensive line? It was one game. You couldn't have played any better. Impossible, I think, when all is said and done, for those 3 new starters and that group collectively of 5. Are you still concerned? I mean, is it, we know Chris Jones is Chris Jones, and Buffalo didn't have anybody like Chris Jones after Von Miller went out. They're different kind of players, but they get big sacks. Still concerned?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If that, one performance, yes, amazing. What they did was absolutely amazing. They should be commended for it. You just bow down to them. They did an absolutely wonderful job. However, you said it right. Buffalo didn't have the manpower, the bulls, the bull rushers, the pass edge rushers. They did not have the quality of players that the Kansas City Chiefs have. I'm talking about on the interior. So, yes, this is going to be more of a test. And they're just, again, they just got to go out there and just make sure, from an offensive line standpoint, offensive linemen just got to make sure, A, their name is not called on the telecast. That means they've done something bad. B, they just got to make sure Kansas City is not displacing the line of scrimmage to the Bengals backfield, where now all the run lanes are down, and that makes Joe Burrow a passer. And I don't think that's going to be a great formula of success for the Bengals to be one-dimensional.
Look, you never played for Zach Taylor. You played for Sam Weiss. Very similar guys, as we've talked about, in regard to their offensive acumen, innovators, so on and so forth. But I'm just kind of curious, when you're a player on a team, and maybe there was a team like this when you were playing. I forgive me for not knowing this, but, when you've beaten a team now 3 times in a row, and you get into that whole game of, okay, well, we did this the last time, so now they think we're going to do this, and now they think we're going to do this, and now we know that they know that they know that we know, right? That whole game. How deep would you be digging into that kind of thing if you were the Bengals on offense? Would you be changing some things up that might have worked the last time because you're expecting them to change based on that? How deep into the weeds do you get on this stuff? Or do you just go out and be who you are?
Well, from the Bengals offense, let's look at the Bengals. The Bengals, they have talent. And they have talent that they could literally line up and beat every player on the defensive side of the football. I'm talking about skill position. So they don't have to put many wrinkles into it. But again, it's going to be so important on how the offensive line plays. Will they give Burrow the time needed to pick apart the secondary? So, yes, I think there will be some wrinkles, some adjustments, some things that maybe they're – Thom, every week a blitz read changes. One week you're running quick slants. The next one you're running outs. The next one you're running deep balls. You're always going to adjust as far as blitz adjustments are concerned. So, yeah, you're going to have those built-in wrinkles. However, again, when you get to the Cincinnati Bengals, they have 3 formidable receivers that we all know that they can line up, and if you blitz and Joe Burrow's given time, Jamar Chase over the top, T. Higgins over the top, or Tyler Boyd in the middle of the field, that is something that Kansas City has to do more worrying than the Bengals have to do.
All right, flip it around. Nobody knows except for the people inside that building where the Chiefs practice every day. Nobody really knows. And look, maybe even nobody in that building knows until he gets out on the field and starts running around. But, based on your history, and we talked about this when he first had the injury, but we've seen clips that Mahomes appears to be moving around pretty well. But based on your experience, or players you played with, or guys you played against, or you, or whatever the case may be, what is the difference between now actually walking out onto the field for the AFC Championship game? You've got massive human beings, fast human beings chasing you around or trying to come get you. Where do you think he will be in terms of being able to move around? And I know you're not the doctor, but just based on your experience.
I think he will be at the top of his game. And here's the reason why, Tom. Contrary to what popular belief is, when a player gets injured, like Patrick, you focus more because you've been some of your athleticism has been taken away. So you have to beat people or beat the team with your mind, your arm, your progression, your smarts, your IQ. So I'm telling you, I've said this several times this week. That's the scary part about the whole game to me. Is when you have a full 100% Patrick Mahomes, that's something totally different than a guy that's playing, say, 90, 95, or 85%. And now he knows he doesn't have his mobility. He knows he has to make the perfect throws. He knows he has to go through his progression. We know he has all the ability to do that. So that's the scary part to me. And you have a head coach in Andy Reid and a well-deserving of a head coaching job in the NFL and Eric Bieniemy. You have that combination of those that three-headed monster going into a game where they've seen this team, this defense 3 times. This is the 4th time. And let's just face it, it's not like the Bengals shut them down. The Bengals did enough to win the game. We know that. But I am like really, really concerned that if people, and of course the Bengals, if they really think that he is going to be limited, oh my God, that it could be a long day for him. We could be talking next week about the what ifs. Why did they take him for granted? Why didn't they do this? So, I think Coach Lou will get after him early and often and make sure he gets him in a scrambling position because, again, he has to protect that ankle. He does not want to have that contact where before you can wait that nanosecond to get rid of the ball knowing you can handle the pressure or the tackle or the hit. But now you don't want nobody to roll up on that ankle. So if you make him think a fraction of a second faster than he has to think, maybe, just maybe, that will make him average. But we know he's one of the best in the business.
I'm curious, Tim, you hear frequently in sports that, you don't want to ask guys to do something that they're not used to doing, whatever that might be, okay? What I'm getting at here is that the Bengals, by and large, in their success against Kansas City, everybody knows they'll rush 3, they drop 8, right? The passes will get completed. They move down the field. They tackle well. When they get inside the red zone against the Chiefs and everybody else, they seem to really buckle down and not allow touchdowns. We've talked about that. But here's what I'm getting at. If all of a sudden you're going into this game and about Mahomes' ankle, are you doing your defense a disservice? And maybe this is totally out of whack and just crazy thinking, and if it is, you're not hurting my feelings. Are you doing yourself a disservice if you're Lou Anarumo by now all of a sudden drawing up a bunch of blitzes that you haven't been doing all year long?
Oh, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. You're exposing the back end of your defense. And keep in mind, although they've played well to date, that defense is hurt on the back end. You have a couple starters out, and I would not suggest going into the lab and coming out with an over-aggressive defense that exploits your secondary, especially the cornerback position. I think in Kansas City, I think that could be a very, very football deadly formula that will create some real negative or you're exposing yourself to big plays is the bottom line, chunk plays. And, you said it perfectly a minute ago by saying what they do is you drop 8 in the coverage and you say, okay, you're going to beat me from 20 to 20, from the 20-yard line to the other 20-yard line. Then we're going to tighten up. We're going to give you field goals, betting that our offense is going to score touchdowns. So as you score 3, we score 7. After the first quarter, it's 14-6. We'll take that success. And if you start blitzing, if Coach Lou, which I doubt very serious, number one, I would jump off his president of his fan club if he was to do that. And so we definitely don't want. Bottom line, Tom, We don't want to see that. Now, again, situational football, you have to. You just can't let him sit back there and pick apart your defense. So you got to pick your spots of blitzing, but you got to have help over the top. And let's face it, Kansas City, they don't have Tyreek Hill. They have a bunch of good receivers, but I don't think they have any great receivers. I'm not including Travis Kelce, of course.
All right, end of the day. Final score, all is said and done, Sunday night, roughly around 9:30, 10 p. Eastern. What do you think that scoreboard reads?
Number one, I think it's going to be a pick'em. I think it's going to be a true pick'em game. I give my heart's with the Bengals. I give Kansas City the advantage because they're playing in Kansas City. It scares the hell out of me, Thom, that the Bengals played the most perfect game that they possibly could have played. And when you look at two elements, they played a perfect game against Buffalo. They've beaten Kansas City 3 times in a row. Will lightning strike for the third time? I have to go against that. Not in my heart, but in my football mind, I'm saying, okay, at some point in time, the oblong football will bounce against the Bengals. And unfortunately, I think this may be the case because they plan against a very, very good Kansas City team. But again, I think both teams are equally matched. And I think the edge goes to Kansas City from playing at home.
All right, Tim McGee, we thank you as always for your time. You have been an incredible addition to this program, and we're hoping we're still talking about the Bengals for about the next 2.5, 3 weeks after the Super Bowl in Phoenix, Arizona in 2 weeks from now.
I sure hope I'm wrong on Kansas City. I'm not picking Kansas City, but I sure hope I'm wrong on the home field advantage team coming out victorious. I want the Bengals to win. I want a Cincinnati Bengals, San Francisco 49ers Super Bowl, and I want the Bengals to kick their derrieres.
I understand wholeheartedly, young man, wholeheartedly. Tim, thanks for this time. Safe travels. All the best there on the home front. Okay?
Appreciate you.